You're a guy in your 30s, you've got a belly, you've got the love handles, you're not feeling good about yourself, you can't fit into certain clothes that you used to, there's no chance of you taking your top off on the beach because you feel so self-conscious, then I'm going to give you the 4-step blueprint to ensure that you're going to lose that belly, lose the love handles, and feel more confident within yourself. Let's get into it. Now, it's a murky world out there, and it's pretty difficult to know what the hell you should be doing. Which diet should you do? Which exercise regime should you do? Which one's going to work? So I'm going to demystify everything and explain to you the rationale behind why things are working and not working. Before we crack on, let me make an admission. I've not always practiced or even preached this. I've been equally as confused about nutrition. I've fallen for the diets, I've fallen for the clever sounding mechanisms, I've fallen for the novelty sounding approach of them, and I've thought this new exciting thing must be how it all works. Insulin, ketosis, fat burning hormones, whatever it is, I fell for it. And I don't want you to fall for those things because they're simply A, not true, and B, not necessary. When we're trying to lose weight, we're not just trying to lose any old weight, we're trying to lose fat because that's what's going to optimize your body composition. We don't want to lose fat and muscle because you could end up like I did back in the day, skinny fat, and you don't want to be there, trust me, because that's going to make things much harder in the future. So let's just get things right from the start and ensure that we are just losing fat. Any diet out there works because it puts you into a calorie deficit. It doesn't like to mention that because just imagine if every single diet said, oh, it works by putting you in a calorie deficit. Then at that point, they don't have a USP. But that is exactly how they all work. So now that you are armed with that knowledge, it actually makes life very simple. You just need to choose the way to get into the calorie deficit. And I'm going to give you the best way to do that. Here is step 1. Get yourself into a calorie deficit. And we need to set this up in a way that's going to ensure that your weight loss is sustainable. A lot of these diets out there, by implementing the rules that they do, pay no attention to this, and you could end up restricting your calories way more, getting a phenomenal amount of weight loss, but usually that is so unsustainable because you've been so restricted. And if you're feeling really restricted, you are going to end up rebounding and potentially putting more weight back on, particularly if you don't follow the next steps that I'm going to talk about. And the way that I want you to set this up is to figure out how much that you need to lose in order to lose 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. That is widely accepted as a sustainable rate of weight loss, and that's going to ensure that when you do lose the weight, you are keeping it off. Hop onto the weight loss calculator, use Precision Nutrition's, which is linked below, and as your weight loss target, do 10% of your weight. So if you're 80 kilograms, that'll be 8 kilograms that you want to lose, target weight 72. Now I'm going to go into more details in another video as to how best to get yourselves into a calorie deficit and how to do things like manage your hunger and stay energized and not feel rubbish. Most of you don't eat enough protein, and this is the most important macronutrient because it breaks down into amino acids, and these formulate your antibodies, enzymes, neurotransmitters, hormones. So it's basically a feel-good macronutrient because if those things aren't working effectively, you're getting ill, you're not thinking clearly, you're getting tired, and that's rubbish. Now, the other thing which most people know protein for is that it helps to build and maintain your muscle mass. So we obviously want to be eating protein for that reason too. And then from a fat loss perspective, it's also quite filling. It's going to help fill you up between meals, which means you're not going to feel hungry. And if you're managing your hunger, that's the best way for you to stay in a calorie deficit. So there's some key benefits there to making sure that you're eating enough protein. And obviously, very importantly, we want to be losing just fat, not fat and muscle. And protein's basically going to have a sparing effect on your muscle mass. So that's a really important thing that we need to consider in the context of you losing the belly and love handles. How much is enough protein? I'm just going to keep this simple. Start with 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. And if you go above that number, it's certainly not going to hurt, but let's shoot for around about 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight, and you're going to definitely achieve the benefits that we've just talked about. A lot of you might be putting on weight because of your rubbish diet, but also because of the fact that you're sat down all the time. So you need to find ways to start moving around more. Now, thankfully, you don't need to go get on the treadmill and start running. You don't need to do HIIT workouts, but you do need to be lightly active. And the time that you spend being lightly active is going to really help you manage your weight loss. Now, walking is going to be the best exercise because you can do that for longer than any other form of exercise. When it comes to exercise, the relationship between intensity and calorie output is not the same, i.e. they don't move together. Usually, the more intense the exercise is, the amount of calorie output increases by small amounts. You may as well do something that you can do for a long time, and walking is one of those things. As I've mentioned, you're likely not doing enough of that, so just start with that. And as a guide, I like to start with 6,000 steps. It's a more manageable number than that magic 10k that you've probably heard publicized. It's probably a damn sight more than you're doing now. And if you're already doing that, then we just need to make sure that we're dialing in nutrition even more, because that's probably the problem. Now, if I was to go back and revisit chemo from 10 years ago, 15 years ago even, I would say to him, make sure that you do this next thing that we're going to talk about, because it's going to set you up for life. You're going to have no issues with your physique, your athletic ability is going to be high, and it's something that you are going to enjoy and be able to keep up for the next 15 years. Strength training. When I look back, I really cringe at some of the training that I said that you should be doing, some of the training that I did myself. I did a lot of HIIT, I did a lot of functional training, and when it comes to a health perspective and a physique perspective, all the training that I did, the benefits just pale in significance when I compare that to strength training. Strength training is the GOAT of all forms of exercise. And within that, I do like to include calisthenics, because I do calisthenics as well. And you need to develop strength to do that. But for the purpose of this, I'm just going to keep this simple and accessible. We're lifting with dumbbells, we're lifting with barbells. Now, why is that the type of training that we should be focusing on when we're in the gym? Strength training is the most powerful stimulator of muscle mass. And as I've mentioned a few times now, we want to be losing just fat and not fat and muscle. So if you do that, not only that guys, some of you will experience recomposition, whereby you'll actually lose fat and gain muscle at the same time, which is really going to do wonders for your physique and really optimize your body composition. But that's only going to happen if you're doing all the things that I've talked about, plus doing your strength training. Super important. Now, you're going to get results from doing everything that I've just mentioned so far. You will likely lose the belly and love handles from following the 3 steps, those first 3 steps. They're pretty damn important. But if you bring strength training into the equation as well, your results are going to accelerate, and it's also going to help you to get as lean as you can. And you're going to have no issues with taking your top off and showcasing your physique on the beach next summer. Now, how do we go about starting strength training? So what I would do if I was you, I would focus on the big 3. So some kind of squat, some kind of pushing movement, some kind of pulling movement. Start with those. They're going to work pretty much every single muscle in the body, and you're going to get stronger and you're going to build muscle mass with those. If you're a beginner, that's where you want to go. You want to train at least twice per week, but I want you to train 3 to 4 times per week if you can. And I want you to aim to do 10 sets for each of those movements per week. Now, if you don't have much time, something that I do recommend that you do is a time-saving strength training protocol, and I've devised 2. The J1E protocol, whereby you focus on just one effective exercise, usually lower body, because in terms of training, they have the largest bang for your buck in terms of getting stronger and building muscle. Then I've got the 1-2 lift protocol, whereby you do a main lift and then some kind of superset. So they could be 2 compound movements themselves, 2 accessories, or a compound and an accessory. But that's going to be a good starting place for you, and it's also, because it's time efficient, just means that you're going to make the most out of your time. So guys, that's essentially the formula, those 4 steps there. You need to get yourself into a calorie deficit, eat enough protein, walk more, strength train. Do that for the next 16 weeks and you're going to get into the best shape of your life.